Where are Bonnie and Foxy in Security Breach? FNAF Security Breach is a fan favorite in the franchise, but something's missing. Two classic animatronics, Bonnie and Foxy, are nowhere to be found. Why? Were they replaced by Montgomery, Gator, and Roxy? I mean, Freddy and Chica made a reappearance, so why not them? After digging deep into the lore and behind the scenes details, I've uncovered some dark secrets that might finally explain their disappearances. Now, starting with Bonnie, the game actually mentions him several times. We know for a fact he actually used to be part of the band, as one of Freddy's lines when asked about Vanny is,
"There is no rabbit at the Mega Pizzaplex. Not anymore."
And even later when he walks upstairs to Bonnie's bowling, he says,
"I do not come up here anymore. I miss him."
In secret staff notes hidden throughout the building, we can find reports from employees wondering where Bonnie went. Some ask what happened to him, and even weeks later, others are still unsure what to tell the kids. This strongly suggests two things. One, yes, Bonnie was definitely active at some point in this timeline, and two, it wasn't Fazbear Entertainment who decommissioned him or replaced him with Monty. In fact, it seems no one in the staff knew where he went. This opens up a whole new mystery. If it wasn't an official shutdown, what really happened to Bonnie? According to security reports from staff and night shift employees, it's known he got up and walked himself into Montgomery Golf, where he was literally never seen again. And we know Montgomery Gator inhabits Montgomery Golf. We also know that Bonnie was the lead bass player, and Montgomery wanted to be the lead bass player, leaving fans to believe Montgomery Gator actually lured Bonnie into his habitat to kill him, making him the star of the show. This point is even further proven during an ending scene in Security Breach, where Montgomery Gator is excited that he has all the fame and glory. We also know, out of all the animatronics shown in Security Breach, Monty is definitely the most aggressive. All he does is yell 24/7 and try and smash you. Not like that. Well, that was easy then, right? Simple. Case closed. Bonnie was the lead player, Montgomery was jealous of Bonnie's fame, and so killed him, taking his spot permanently. Well, not exactly. You see, this could all be very true. Perhaps Monty is jealous, and perhaps he didn't like Bonnie very much, but enough to just flat out murder him without raising any suspicions? Where is Bonnie's body? And why didn't security do anything? For these answers, we need to dive deeper into who the head of security actually was, being Vanessa, who is possessed by Vanny, who conveniently obeys William Afton, aka in this game a variant named Burnt Trap. I guess because he's burnt for like the fourth time in this franchise, but also who conveniently was just given the job from the top to be head of security with no prior background as stated. As requested, here are my notes on today's chief security officer interview. While Vanessa seemed eager and bright, she doesn't appear to have any relevant background experience. I realize the recommendation came from the top, but we need someone who has run security for a facility of this scale. I do not recommend her for the position. However, we know she got the job regardless, as she's here in her security jacket. Maybe the real culprit has been hiding under our noses this entire time. Maybe what happened to Bonnie wasn't actually entirely Monty's fault, like so many people in the community believe it was. Other evidence that heavily backs the claim Monty's innocent is another message found titled Monty's Mischief, which reads that Monty didn't show up for his show again, and he was found where they always find him, the catwalks of Montgomery Golf. If Monty really wanted to be the star of the show, why would he miss so many shows? How can he be the star if no one even sees him? Honestly, by this log, it seems he almost didn't want to be on stage at all. This log also explains that he got into an accident which broke both of his legs, possibly explaining why he's so much more aggressive than the others. So then, who did this to Bonnie? If it wasn't Fazbear, and if it doesn't appear to have actually been Monty, who was it? You see, if you actually take a look at Burnt Trap's design, he looks almost as if he was pieced back together, and yeah, with bunny parts. I mean, look at the ears, and the fact he's hopping around on one leg. This theory is even more proven by Burnt Trap's arm, which has the same claws as Monty. Why does this matter? Well, because in a Fazbear log titled Monty's Upgrade, it actually says the claws were needed to better play the bass, inferring that it's quite possible Bonnie would have needed the same exact ones. So then, what really happened to Bonnie? Well, maybe instead of it having anything to do with Monty, what really happened is Vanessa programmed Bonnie to walk into Gator Golf, where where she then ripped him apart and then took all his pieces down to the secret pizzeria under the building to help reform Burntrap, letting Monty take the fall in the process. It's possible she even had Monty do it to keep her hands clean, or even worked out a deal with Monty, giving him the fame after. Which doesn't appear to have really worked, as I've quite literally never heard anyone say that Monty's their favorite animatronic. If anything, I've only heard the exact opposite. Yeah, no one likes this dude. Regardless, Fazbear Pizzaplex seems oblivious, letting Vanessa walk away scot-free. So now we know what really happened to Bonnie that fateful day, but that still leaves one massive question. What really happened to Foxy? Well, that's a lot harder for us to say for sure. We have almost no official notes about him in Security Breach. Several fans believe he was replaced by Roxy, but that theory doesn't totally add up. Think about it. Foxy was one of the most loved characters in the franchise. A pirate with his own themed attractions, merch, plushies, even a log ride in the Ruin DLC. If the company really replaced him, why keep all his branding around? Why not make those Roxy themed instead? Some people argue, however, that Roxy is just a variant, like how Mangle and Foxy coexisted in FNAF 2. But here's the issue with that. Every Foxy variant in the series still has Foxy in the name. Withered Foxy, Funtime Foxy, Nightmare Foxy, Rockstar Foxy, Glamrock Foxy. Even Chica and Freddy have Glamrock added to their names, but they're still Chica and Freddy. Roxy? She's not even a fox. She's a wolf. And her name isn't Roxy Foxy, although low-key that would be kinda catchy. So yeah, the name and the species alone kind of throws the whole Roxy equals Foxy theory off. So here's what people think happened to Foxy. The company might have just been expanding the animatronic lineup, bringing in new mascots like Monty, Roxy, and the daycare attendant known as Sun and Moon to freshen up the brand. Either that, or maybe Foxy's popularity had just started to die down and Fazbear saw no reason to bring him back full time. There's also a third theory that Foxy was being slowly reintroduced, like he was going through testing phases behind the scenes and slowly reintroducing him to the public eye. But I don't buy it. If they were planning to bring back the originals, why wouldn't they start with all four? There is another theory I do find interesting, however. Some people believe Foxy was originally the daycare attendant. The daycare is called Kids Cove, which sounds a lot like Pirates Cove, and the palm tree theming feels oddly similar as well. So maybe Foxy was there, but a power failure or blackout in the daycare caused him to malfunction. Kind of like how Sun and Moon flip out when the lights go off. Maybe he seriously injured someone, or maybe even worse, and Fazbear quietly swept it under the rug, replacing him with the Sun and Moon animatronic and pretending he was never there to begin with. And honestly, that theory almost works, except that there's no staff notes about Foxy at all. Not one. Nothing like we saw with Bonnie. That kind of silence makes me wonder, was he ever actually part of the Pizzaplex to begin with? So, here's my personal theory about what actually happened to Foxy. So, my personal theory is, Foxy's always been unstable. In nearly every FNAF game, he's the most unpredictable animatronic. Even Phone Guy says he doesn't like being watched. He's aggressive, twitchy, and honestly, not as kid-friendly as the others. Sure, his Rockstar version helped, but even then, he's still unnerving. And let's be real, in every single appearance, he's out of order. Yeah, Foxy hasn't worked properly since, well, come to think of it, Foxy's never really worked. Never actually operated as a proper attraction. As more lore comes out, he's also heavily linked as the animatronic who caused the bite of 1987 in the first place, which I also made a video on. So maybe Fazbear just got tired of fixing him and his liability and figured it was cheaper and safer to drop him entirely, but they still kept some of his themed park style tributes around because, let's face it, fans still love him. This is just my personal opinion, however, and if new evidence ever surfaces, I'd love to be proven wrong. But for now, that's what I truly believe happened to Foxy. So now we officially know what happened to Bonnie and Foxy, or at least these are the best theories we've got so far. If you're interested in more FNAF lore, however, the video on screen is recommended just for you, and I wouldn't want to miss it as it explains what happened to William Afton, aka Springtrap's missing wife.